All right, this is just for fun. Let's do our first drink together, Justin.
Oh, yes, Larry.
Yes, to the
Good to
coffee
see you
conversation.
again.
We're old. We can't drink coffee this late anymore. Hey guys, welcome to the Coffee and Conversation podcast. I am your host, Larry Vinson. We are doing a special online for the church that I am now the pastor of, called the Bridge Church of Hendricks County, or the Bridge HC. We are right in the middle of our Colossians study and conversation, but we're taking a break today to talk to another good friend of mine from the good old days of college, Justin Sanford. Justin, you and I went to college. I was talking with Chris Cook earlier about this. 21 years ago, I think is the correct answer to how long it was since we
Yeah.
21 years ago is when we went to college together, man.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's a long ways away.
Fall of 2001.
Yeah. So
Mm-hmm.
so officially, welcome, my
Mm-hmm.
friend. Welcome.
Well, Larry, glad to be here, man.
Yeah. All
Glad
right.
to be here.
All right. So Justin, what we're talking about tonight and throughout this entire series is deconstructing your faith. And what we mean by deconstruction, because we want to understand the terms, right? We want to make sure we're on the same page. When we're talking about deconstruction, we're talking about breaking down the parts of your faith and examining them closely so you know what parts of your faith you need to junk because they're nowhere near what Christ wanted, and then what part of your faith you want to strengthen because this is what Jesus really is about. Okay. And so I thought it would be good for us as a community of people who are listening to this right now, just to hear a little bit about your faith journey. So tell me a little bit about how you grew up, what your faith was like up until you started questioning things.
Yeah, no, good, Larry. And again, good to be here. Man, I mean, my life started in church. Like that was probably one of my first outings ever. I was probably like 7 days old,
Yeah.
and in church. So I was brought up in church. My grandpa was a minister. It always been a part of my life. In I don't know, my adolescent years, I was really interested in becoming, like, I don't know, a sports commentator, and wanted to become a journalist. Did like yearbook staff, newspaper staff, all that. But then around my junior year of high school, went to church camp and felt a call to do whatever I do, it needs to be ministry oriented. And then a year later, I found myself at Cincinnati Christian University. Wasn't a lot of thought into that other than I wanted to serve God, and my grandpa had gone to school there. I mean,
Okay.
really, that was it. I mean, it was a great move. I met my wife while being there. She did not go to CCU. She went across the hill at UC. But I'm glad that all worked out. And definitely had some formative times at CCU. Um, Went into full-time ministry, studied to be a preacher, and did 8 years of youth ministry. Never thought I would work professionally with kids and teenagers, but that's what I did my entire life until about 2 months ago. Because now I'm working in substance use recovery.
Oh, great.
But so that's kind of a little bit of my journey. Like basically my faith, very much a part of how I was brought up, a part of my culture. And then in the past few years, things have really shifted. A part of that shift might have even been when I married my wife, just because she came to Christ, as a college student, and her family was from England, Austin, and so that, probably one of the first experiences that, kind of, I don't know, just formative type of experience. And then I'd also say working the church ended up being a lot harder gig than I thought it would be. I
Yeah.
don't know if you can relate to
Yeah. Preach it, man.
that. um, so probably still dealing with some trauma from that I
Yeah.
probably need to work on with a therapist.
Yeah.
Um,
Well, let's get
and
into that.
yeah, I mean that's a really hard play because you know
I want to go back a little bit to your journey when your faith was strengthening. I find that with people who grew up in the church, and this might be your experience, this might not be your experience, but I find that people who grow up in the church are often walking in the shadow of their parents' faith for a time. And then there is a moment, and it's different for every
mm,
person, where they step out of that shadow and they make their faith their
let's
own.
see, Larry, you
So what was that like for you?
yeah, so very much my faith journey has been which and I didn't realize that for a long time.
Mhm.
And I'll be honest, when you decide early on to make a career out of ministry and your livelihood partly depends on believing things a certain way, that kind of puts some of that questioning on hold, I think.
Yeah.
um and coming on the other coming out on the other end of this, I think everyone truly has to go through that, has to go through a this is how I was brought up, but what do I really believe?
Yeah.
And just kind of musing out loud here, because like I said, I didn't prepare for this beforehand, but I felt like I had gone through that, like in high school. Like I got baptized like fifth grade, right? And so that's like me making my faith mine. And that's how I even described it. I remember back in middle school, that's how I describe it. Like that was when I decided it's my faith and not just what my parents were teaching me. I was in fifth grade.
Yeah.
So I think there comes a point as an adult where we need to really do some examining.
Yeah. So yeah, I mean, it's. I think you're spot on,
So
right? I think that there is a moment where we have to redefine, or not redefine, that's the wrong word, but where we have to cross the line of difficulty in order to believe or reject Christ. And I think we have to always be examining our faith, which I think is a problem of the church today, is that we don't do that enough. um so I think you're right on,
yeah,
Justin. And I tell you what, we're going to lead into our first set of questions. We'll transition and then we'll come back. And I want to start talking about the questions that you specifically started asking. Okay. All right, guys, welcome back. I hope you had a great conversation. I'm here with my friend Justin Sanford, who works currently with substance abuse people. I forget the actual term right now. Sorry, Justin, and to all my friends out there who are also suffering with substance abuse issues. Justin, when we left, you were talking about how as an adult you think everybody should go through this time of examination, of difficulty, of teaching, re-examining what they believe, why they believe it, to see what it is exactly, what it is that they believe, and why, which I think is a really healthy thing for us to do. As a matter of fact, that's the whole reason Paul wrote Colossians, right? So what specifically were you starting to question? And then talk a little bit about the process of how you started examining those things.
my last position I had in ministry, um, I got let go from there in 2014. Church was having money issues. Second
Right,
time I was at a church where that happened.
right.
We had already planned to take some classes to do a foster to adopt.
Okay.
And it just kind of worked out timing wise that those classes were to take place just a couple weeks after I left that church. Um, and that's almost symbolic
Yeah.
now, because taking those classes, there was, I mean, there was some things I expected, but I didn't expect to learn how when you adopt a kid who's been abused, faced trauma, whatever, um, the stuff that had happened to them, it it rewires their brain,
Yep.
and it ends up being stuff that they deal with for the rest of their life.
Yep. That's unfortunately true. Yeah.
And the reality is that yes, they need love, they need support, but love doesn't magically fix that. And that was something I was taught as a Christian. Like you just love like Christ loves, and it just that's it. That's all you have to do. Well, loving like Christ loves to a child who has faced some trauma and maybe even has some genetic history of family behavior. Um, you know, Loving like Christ in that situation is very takes a lot of patience. It's
Hmm.
very exhausting.
Yeah.
It's giving a lot and not having it reciprocated sometimes.
Yeah. Right.
Um, and I will say that's not the situation I had with the girls that we adopted. But I experienced that a lot in working with troubled teens and stuff. One of the things essentially that you learn, and what I was trying to explain, is there's a lot that goes in the human behavior.
Yeah.
There's a lot of even external things and things that we can't control that becomes a factor in our behavior. And so theology, right, oftentimes teaches, like Christian theology, it's all choice based,
Hmm.
right?
Yeah.
You choose to do the right thing or not, and it's that simple. The reality is there's a lot of things in life that aren't that simple. And working in substance use and recovery, where I've been the last 2 months, I work with male adults who are trying to recover, not just from addiction, but from making some really not so great life choices along with that addiction. You know, I kind of joked back and forth with the guys I work with the other day. They're like, yeah, we're felons and criminals, and I'm like, well, I'm not, but I enjoy hanging out with them. Um, so I mean that describes like the type of people I'm interacting with, um, and so many times when you hear their stories, why did they get addicted? Why did they make these bad choices?
Hmm.
Well, maybe they were exposed to drug use, and it was their parents who exposed them at an early age. There was some sort of significant trauma that you know a lot of people don't have to deal with.
Yeah.
Sometimes there is genetic history involved,
Yes.
and um, so I don't know if you can see that or not, but that's what really started shifting. Like that pattern is what really started shifting my paradigm, is that human behavior is not just a you make the right choice or make the wrong choice. It's a lot of factors playing in to how you think and how you behave, and so starting to reconcile that with a theology I've been taught, where everything is, you choose to do right or wrong. And I'm not saying that like we're all robots and we have no choice in the matter whatsoever, because we do. We do make conscious choices. Maybe there's even a little bit of paradox in what I'm saying, but we're Christians, so we're
Yeah.
we're
Right.
comfortable with that, right?
Uh-huh. Yeah.
Um, but it's not always as simple as you make the right choice or the wrong choice. Sometimes
So
you want to make the right
yeah.
choice and you just can't.
So
And so yeah.
let me jump in real quick because I want to make sure I'm understanding everything, and I want to want to make sure that I'm tracking here. So for
Mm,
you growing up, what you were taught, as probably a lot of Christians were taught. I didn't grow up in the church. I was kind of like your wife. I came to
Mhm.
Christ, as you know, at 18-year-old, 17-year-old,
Yeah,
and then went
love that, man. Yeah.
straight to Bible college, which was insane. But anyway, beside the point, you know, that when they grow up, they're taught black and white. This is right, this is wrong, right? They're taught,
Mhm.
you know, that you have a choice, right? But that's not what Scripture teaches as much as we would think. Yes, we have a role to play. Yes, you know, we have free will and we are allowed to, you know, to choose what we want. But really, the Christian life is one of allowing the Spirit to guide and direct you, and not to mention that the Bible talks a lot about generational issues. It talks a
Mhm.
lot about, um, you know, even when you want to do the right thing, you end up doing the wrong thing anyway. You know,
Sure, sure.
so
Yeah.
there's a lot of this gray area in the Bible, don't you think?
Yeah, no, personally, I do.
Yeah,
Yes,
right.
I do believe that's there. I completely agree with you. And that would actually address one of the other questions I've had is when you start to acknowledge some of those gray areas, um, like you refer to, like addressing generational sin. Um, you really start looking into like from a societal perspective and being equitable and how that played out in the New Testament and how maybe the church was actually pretty progressive when it came to like women's roles and that sort of
I
thing.
mean, yeah.
That line of thinking and getting excited about that, I've often found in real conservative circles gets kind of squashed.
Oh, completely.
and
Uh,
and that's and at first that was an annoyance, and that used to be, well, I've talked to people that think differently. I'm educated at Bible college, whatever. But it kind of got to a point where no, this is the culture, right? It's not Christianity necessarily, but it's the culture. Like there's a lot of this, I like almost like fear to look at some of these things and to look at it through a Christian lens. I think sometimes people are kind of scared of that. But
yeah,
that's also been a part of my questioning.
yeah, sure, and I get that. You know, and listen, you know, one of the things that I'm learning is to get rid of the labels of progressive or conservative because I really honestly think that we confuse um, the Christian theology of the truth of Christ, the actual truth of Christ, with political ideologies, right?
Mhm.
And really what it is, and this is really what deconstruction is all about, is you know, breaking down your faith and saying, okay, gender roles, for instance. You know, I have completely rejected the viewpoint of um, complementarianism, which suggests that a woman and a male, you know, that the
Mhm.
husband's the head and the woman's below. I've completely rejected that because I don't see that in Scripture, right?
Mhm.
And you know, that's, you know, some would say that's a progressive, but I know a ton of conservatives who believe that as I believe, you know, and so it's not a conservative or liberal thing. In my mind, it's just a Christian thing. It's a, you know, and I know people who love Jesus who disagree with me, and that's okay, you know, because the Bible is full of gray areas, right? I mean, it requires us to dig down deep into the murk of crap
Mhm.
that is our culture, and to figure out what exactly Jesus is trying to tell us and to teach us through the Holy Spirit. And then when we come up for air, that's when we start to realize that you know, that the beliefs that we once held need to be refined in the eyes of Christ.
Mhm.
This is what our church is trying to do right now. The Bridge HC is
Mhm.
trying to offer these conversations to people to say, guys, your perspective is welcome. Your conversation is welcomed. Your questions are welcomed. Because, you know, for too long the church has rejected these questions and not, it's not like they have, it's not like they've said no, we don't want your questions. They just never offered a space for them to come out naturally, and that's what needs to happen. Let's go ahead and take a break here, and you know, get into our second set of questions. and then we will come back and we'll wrap up with our third and final section. All right, well, let's get back into this because I want to finish up with where you're at now.
Mm-hmm.
And it sounds like to me, from what I'm hearing from you thus far, is that you are still in the process of examining things, that you really haven't settled on the things that you've wanted to settle on. Would that be correct?
Absolutely correct. And
And
some of it's scary.
sure. So where are you now then? Like, do you think that do you think your faith is getting stronger throughout this process, or is it getting weaker?
So it's an interesting question. I mean, not really an interesting question. I expected you to ask that, but it's an important question. And so, probably a good way to talk about that is, I think if we look at, and first off, by the way, the fact that you messaged me and specifically asked me to talk about deconstruction was it was almost like, we were communicating telepathically, like Vulcans or something, because
or maybe God.
I don't, to my knowledge, yeah, or maybe God, right? But to my knowledge, I have not used that terminology, but I can, especially it's you, like I can understand why you would put that out there. And I mean the reality is I am, if you look at deconstruction as, now that my living doesn't depend on what I believe, it's given me the freedom to look at things and re-examine things and rethink things. And I'm really like, there's a freedom that I have to do that I didn't have before. And sometimes it's scary, but it's good. So where I am now is, faith wise, I'm working on some stuff. I don't think my faith, I, I'm not poster boy conservative Christian anymore. Like I'll tell you that. But um I, I I very much want to believe in and want to follow God. Um and I'm in a process. I don't think I've landed on the other side yet.
I think that it's important for us to hear somebody who says, look, I don't know where I'm at right now. I'm not. And what you're experiencing is what I find a lot of people who have been in the ministry long enough, what they're experiencing when if they've been in the ministry for a long time, and then they leave the ministry and they finally have that freedom to think about their doctrine in a way that doesn't have fear interjected into it, because I don't want to lose my job, I don't want to lose my income, I don't want whatever. It's like a pendulum swing. We go from one extreme to the other, and we don't really know where that pendulum is going to stop. For some of us, and really this is where I'm at now, it's right smack dab in the middle. I'm more moderate than I am anything else, and you are definitely over here right now just trying to figure things out. And this is a space where I think a lot of people live right now. Like they're exploring, they don't know where they're going to end up, but this is where they're at. And some people stay there. They just give up, and it's like, well, I'm just going to be in this limbo for the rest of my life. Well, when I say that we should continue this journey of swinging until we find whatever that center is, right? So Justin, we have to go. We are done for today. So I wanted to thank you so much for being a part of this interview with me, and would love for you to finish us out with just one word of encouragement for anybody who, like you, is in the midst of deconstructing their faith.
Oh man. Here's the thing. Like, I think sometimes when someone's going through something, they just need someone to tell them, like, hey, you're not crazy.
Yes.
What you're feeling is normal.
Yeah. Yeah.
And other people have experienced this. Other people have even studied this, which is true. And there's even, I had to look this up beforehand, but I know there's a psychologist that even came up with levels of development for faith. And going through a process of questioning is a normal part of faith development.
Yeah, for sure.
So it's normal. And
Yeah.
and questioning your faith doesn't mean that you're going to turn into, wherever your mind might take you. Like it might just, well, hello there.
Yeah, it's like, you're done, dude. I got my service dog back here sleeping, and your cat's just jumping on the thing. So yeah, I get it, man. And I think that this is really good for our people to understand that this is a normal thing, and actually it's a beneficial thing, right? It's something that you should go through, because if you don't know why it is that you believe what you believe, you're not doing this right. You have to be able to dive deep. All right, well, guys, that will do it. I'll be back by myself here in just a little bit to talk about some responses and things like that. So guys, thank you so much. Justin, thank you. We'll see you guys later.
All right. Thanks, Larry.
Hey guys, I want to thank you again for listening to the conversation I had with Justin. It was such a good conversation for me to have, and I hope it was fulfilling for you as well. Listen, if you have anything that you need to talk about, maybe you're just processing all of this, maybe you're finding yourself in the same situation where Justin is right now, please feel free to reach out. We are here to help you walk this journey of faith, and because we believe that you shouldn't be walking it alone. So if you want to contact us, all the information is right there on the screen. Feel free to get a hold of us via social media, website, whatever, or even personal email to me, okay? You can also come visit me at Books and Brew every Wednesday in Brownsburg. I'm usually there between 11 a.m. and 4 p.m. If I'm not, just send me a message, and I will make sure that I am there when the time is convenient for you. Listen, as well, if you like what you're hearing, you like what we're doing, you wanna be a part of this, you can join us each and every Tuesday night at 6:30. Number one, we would love to have you. These conversations that we have around the table are fascinating and amazing. But as well, we would love for your financial support. We are a 501c3, and so we are trying to be self-sustainable over the next few years until our congregation can take over, so we can build up that congregation. We would love for you to be a donor, and whether a one-time or regular gift, just go to donate.thebridgehc.org, and you can start filling out the information there. All right, guys, that's it for me. Until then, as always, peace, love, and soul.